Welcome to the Ask Junior Daily Judgment podcast. I'm Priya Sharma, and joining me today is Arjun Gupta.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to dive into today's important judgments. But before we begin, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our podcast if you enjoy our daily legal breakdowns.
That's right. Your support helps us reach more listeners and continue providing in-depth analysis of the latest court decisions. Now, let's get started with today's case. Today's case, MS Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Pvt versus the State of Maharashtra, was decided by the Bombay High Court on December 11, 2024. This case brings up crucial questions about food safety regulations, the interpretation of best before dates, and the defendant's rights in legal proceedings.
Let's break down the facts of the case, Priya.
The case revolves around a food safety concern related to Canada Dry, a sweetened carbonated beverage manufactured by Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Pvt. The story begins in July 2001 when a food inspector, Mr. M.D. Shah, visited the premises of Bruton Marketing in Jalna. He found a stock of Canada Dry, manufactured on June 13th and 22nd, 2001.
What was unusual about this stock, Priya?
Mr. Shah noticed visible fibrous matter in the sealed glass bottles. In total, there were 327 bottles from June 13th and 8,995 bottles from June 22nd.
It sounds like a significant quantity of potentially contaminated product. How did the food inspector proceed?
He followed the procedures outlined in the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, PFA, and purchased 6 bottles manufactured on June 13th for testing and analysis. These samples were sent to the Regional Public Health Laboratory in Aurangabad.
And what did the lab find?
The lab report, issued on August 31, 2001, concluded that the samples contained extraneous fibrous and particulate matter resembling cobweb-like particles, which did not meet the requirements for carbonated water under PFA rules.
So the lab confirmed that the beverage was adulterated. What happened next?
The food inspector filed a criminal complaint against Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Pvt and other accused parties. However, this complaint wasn't filed until March 15, 2003. This delay, coupled with the fact that the best before date of the product was December 12, 2001, led to the complex legal questions we'll explore today.
That's a very interesting point, Priya. The best before date is crucial in this case, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's important to understand the distinction between best before and expiry date under the PFA rules. The best before date simply indicates the period during which the product remains fully marketable and retains its specific qualities. However, the food may still be perfectly satisfactory beyond this date.
So, essentially, the best before date is a guide for consumers to ensure optimal quality, not a safety concern.
Exactly. The court emphasized that the mere filing of prosecution after the best before date doesn't automatically invalidate proceedings. In this case, the samples were collected and tested well within the best before period.
This brings us to the legal questions at the heart of the case. Could you outline them for our listeners, Priya?
The court examined several key issues. First, does filing prosecution after the best before date automatically invalidate the accused's rights under Section 13(2) of the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act? Second, does the failure to exercise the right for re-examination of the food sample before its destruction disentitle the accused from claiming a violation of Section 13(2)?
This is getting complex, Priya. Could you explain Section 13(2) in simpler terms for our listeners?
Of course. Section 13(2) of the PFA Act grants the accused the right to re-examine the food samples once prosecution has been initiated and the public analyst's report has been received. This right allows the accused to have their own expert analyze the sample to challenge the findings of the initial analysis.
It's basically a chance for the accused to get a second opinion, if you will.
Exactly. Now, the third key issue was whether the delay in filing the complaint after the product's shelf life made the entire prosecution proceedings liable to be quashed.
And the last one, Priya.
Finally, the court had to determine if the High Court could quash the proceedings under Section 482 of the Criminal Procedure Code, PC, when an alternative remedy under Section 397 CRPC was available.
So we have a complex web of legal questions tied to food safety and procedural rights. Let's dive into the court's reasoning, Priya.
The court addressed each issue systematically. Regarding the timing of the prosecution after the best before date, the court recognized the distinction between best before and expiry date. They ruled that since the samples were tested within the best before period, the delay in filing the complaint didn't automatically invalidate the proceedings.
It's a good point that just because a product has passed its best before date doesn't mean it's automatically dangerous or unfit for consumption.
Exactly. This is where an analogy might help. Imagine you buy a loaf of bread with a best before date of tomorrow. Even if you eat it a week later, it's not necessarily going to make you sick. The bread might be less fresh, but it's not necessarily adulterated or unsafe.
That's a helpful analogy, Priya. So, the court determined that the delay in filing the complaint wasn't a fatal flaw in this case because the samples were tested within the best before date.
Right. Now, about the right to re-examination under Section 13(2). The court acknowledged that the accused had an opportunity to request a re-examination when a MISC application for sample destruction was filed in September 2001.
So the accused had a chance to exercise their right but didn't.
That's precisely what the court found. Despite being notified about the sample destruction, neither the accused nor the manufacturer exercised their right for re-examination before the samples were destroyed in June 2002. The court held that failing to utilize this opportunity meant the accused couldn't later claim a violation of Section 13(2).
It's interesting how the court emphasized the importance of exercising rights when they are available. This seems like a crucial principle for due process.
You're right, Arjun. The court highlighted that the accused were given a chance to challenge the findings but chose not to. This underscores the importance of active participation in legal proceedings.
So the court concluded that the delay in filing the complaint didn't violate the accused's rights, and they also waived their right to re-examine the samples. What about the maintainability of the case under Section 482 CRPC?
The court concluded that the accused's application under Section 482 CRPC was maintainable because they sought to quash both the process order and the entire proceedings. This was beyond the scope of revisional jurisdiction under Section 397 TRPC, which only allows for reviewing the issuance of the process order.
So the accused were seeking more comprehensive relief than Section 397 CRPC could provide.
Exactly. The court recognized that limiting the accused to revision wouldn't provide the complete relief they sought. Therefore, the application under Section 482 CRPC was deemed maintainable.
It sounds like the court acknowledged the need for flexibility and a robust legal process that can address complex situations.
Absolutely. The court's decision underscores the importance of procedural fairness, timely exercise of rights, and the distinction between best before and expiry date in food safety regulations.
So the court ultimately rejected the application filed by Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Pvt. And allowed the prosecution to proceed under the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act.
And the court emphasized that the prosecution should continue as per law since the company failed to exercise their right for re-examination of the samples within the best before date.
This judgment has important implications for companies operating in the food industry. They need to be aware of their rights and obligations under food safety regulations, and they must actively participate in legal proceedings to protect their interests.
Absolutely, Arjun. This judgment sends a clear message that companies must be diligent in following food safety procedures and exercising their rights when provided. Failure to do so can lead to the continuation of proceedings against them, even if there are technical delays or discrepancies in the prosecution process.
We've covered the key points of this case, but we'd be remiss not to mention that the judgment also addresses a relevant point about potential prejudice to the accused due to delays in the prosecution process.
You're right, Arjun. The court in its decision specifically mentioned that while delays can occur, they should not be used as a tool to undermine the accused's rights. This is particularly important in cases where time is of the essence, such as in food safety violations, where the product's shelf life is a critical factor.
So, even though the court did not quash the proceedings, It acknowledged the importance of addressing potential prejudice caused by delays.
Indeed, Arjun. It seems like the court is striking a balance between ensuring that cases are processed efficiently and that the rights of the accused are not compromised.
That's a great point, Priya. The court's reasoning highlights the complexities of balancing legal principles with the practicalities of legal proceedings, especially when it comes to issues like food safety and the timely exercise of rights.
This case, Mess Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Pvt versus the State of Maharashtra, provides valuable insights into the interpretation of food safety regulations, the exercise of rights in legal proceedings, and the importance of navigating procedural complexities in a timely manner.
And that wraps up our analysis of today's judgment. We hope you found our discussion informative and engaging.
Before we sign off, we'd like to remind our listeners once again to like, subscribe, and share our podcast. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue bringing you daily updates on the most important legal decisions.
Absolutely. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for another exciting episode. Until then, this is Priya Sharma.
And Arjun Gupta, signing off. Thanks for listening to the Ask Junior Daily Judgment podcast.